Hello, I'm the Media Whiz, because one art form wasn't enough. Let's talk about The Brave Little Toaster. Based on the 1980 novel of the same name, The Brave Little Toaster is a 1987 animated film depicting the adventures of a bunch of sentient appliances trying to find their master. That being Rob, a little boy who has soon grown into a young man. On the surface, it seems like an innocent enough movie, but don't let the cover fool you. This can be a pretty dark children's film with plenty of dark and scary moments, notably the nightmare sequence with the Colossal is Crazy cameo. Because of its surprising maturity and handling of its message of man's relationship with technology, the movie gained positive reviews from both critics and audiences alike. The movie barely broke even at the box office upon release, but it made its money back in home video sales, as well as going on to become a cult classic. But soon enough, the rights to the movie were then bought out by Disney, and along came straight-to-video sequels in the late 90s, Brave Little Toaster to the Rescue and Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars. Both movies holding generally the same voice cast, with the key exceptions being the voices of Blanky and the radio. Now, while Goes to Mars was actually based on a sequel to the original book, To the Rescue was completely original. This one following the appliances, now in the ownership of Rob and his girlfriend Crystal, who are wrapping up their years in college and both working up to get degrees in the veterinary field. This movie was meant to highlight man's relationship with animals, similar to the first movie's themes. But since they were working on both movies around the same time, they accidentally released Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars first, even though it's supposed to be the third movie in the series. So could you imagine if they did this with other theatrical movie sequels? Like, imagine if they put out Back to the Future 3 before Back to the Future 2. Now, while the first two movies are relatively grounded, or at least as grounded as movies about talking appliances and talking animals could be, I always remember this one being the weirdest of the three, so I figured it'd be appropriate to look back at it. This is The Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars. So after the opening credits in space, we zero in on Earth and see Rob's car driving down the highway. As it seems, Rob and Crystal have successfully opened their own animal clinic. Meanwhile, with our gang of appliances, they jam out to an oldie.
He likes bread and butter. He likes toast and jam. That's what his baby feeds him. He's a
I love this song.
Gee, Toaster, you don't say.
Guys! You know, there have been some good songs written in the last 20 years. How about some rap?
Oh god, can you imagine if they actually did get some 90s pop rapper to be a part of this movie? Who do you think they would go for? Tag Team? MC Hammer? Will Smith? Let's just be glad that that never happened. But their fun is soon broken up by a certain Killjoy, a singular hearing aid played by Broadway legend Five-ish Finkel. He is pissed off because he mostly spends his days in the junk drawer never being used, as explained by the kitchen faucet played by Farrah Fawcett.
Yes, I get it! I get it!
You were saying that hearing aid has been here a long time?
Yeah, he used to belong to some smarty pants guy.
With funny hair and glasses.
Professor Poopy Pants? We start to get repeated story elements from the other movies as the appliances start to miss Rob and Crystal. This introduces yet another character, a cynical microwave played by Newman from Seinfeld himself, Wayne Knight.
What good are you anyway?
Yeah, I've been asking myself the same question.
Well, you'll soon see, my obsolete ones. There's some changes about to be made around here, and they don't involve you.
Didn't they already do something like this in the first movie? Yeah, we had that whole song number sung by the snobby new appliances that wanted to replace our heroes. Well, thankfully this doesn't really go anywhere. Once the humans return, it turns out they were gone because they just had a baby boy. Oh, is this going to be one of those movies where they start off jealous of the baby because it's taking away all the attention, and then eventually they start to warm up to him because he's a member of the family, and then they end up looking out for him the same way they looked out for Rob when he was just a kid? Surprisingly, no. As we'll see later, they go for the next obvious plot and have it that they have to save the baby as he ends up in a perilous situation. But before we get there, we have a nice slow song with the baby, who's named Robbie, bonding with the appliances, similar to his father in the flashbacks from the first movie. The plot really gets going as the appliances overhear the hearing aid plotting something. They swear to keep an eye on him, but as they all fall asleep, hearing aid gets to work with his plans.
By my calculations, they should be transmitting now.
His plan was to get beamed up into space by some kind of being that's all the way out there because he was offered a chance of a life outside of his junk drawer. But of course, in the confusion, Robbie ends up getting beamed up in his place. And like the title would suggest, the baby ends up on...
Mars?
Okay, I hope you're willing to suspend your disbelief by a lot, because trust me, the movie's just gonna become even more insane and nonsensical from here. So the appliances decide they'll have to go up to space and save Robbie themselves. But how are they gonna do it? Well, they turn to Wittenstein, the supercomputer from the second movie. Oh, imagine how confused all the kids watching this movie probably felt, considering a lot of these new characters were introduced into the rescue, which at that point hadn't been released yet.
You'll need an overhead fan,
There's one in the surgery.
a laundry basket,
There's one in the laundry room.
a microwave oven.
Does he have to come?
A power source is essential. Oh, and there's one more thing. Some microwave popcorn
Microwave popcorn?
with cheddar cheese flavoring.
Yeah, what he said. Okay, the microwave popcorn is actually elaborated on because the power source inside the microwave needs to be organic in nature. You know, completely ignoring the fact that the cheddar cheese flavoring wouldn't be organic and would instead be processed food stuff, but then again, this is a movie about talking appliances trying to save a human baby in a makeshift spaceship, so logic clearly tripped and fell out the window 2006 minutes ago.
What do you think you're doing? Put me back. You better have a good reason for this.
Hi, late great Carol Channing.
Someone has to take care of Blanky while we're gone.
Yeah. Someone has to watch out for me a while. Wait a minute. Aren't I coming?
No, Blanky, it's too scary for you.
Completely ignoring the fact that Blanky was with them in all the perils that they had to go through in the other movies. Seriously, Toaster, that's a little rude. Not like it really matters, because as they take off, it turns out Blanky stowed away and joined them anyway. Well, that was a little pointless. And speaking of a little pointless, we get a song about a bunch of balloons floating around in space.
We're floating, west and east we go floating, free and released from the hands that gave us flight. Hands too little to hold on tight, now we float forever, in and out of sight.
This movie is so weird, dude, I swear to God. Yeah, surprisingly, this song just kind of comes and goes. These balloon characters never come back after this. The song doesn't really add a whole lot to the story. I mean, it is a pleasant song, but it's just odd that it doesn't really add anything later on in the movie. Again, I guess this is on brand with the rest of the series. It seems every one of these movies has to have a scene in the middle that doesn't really add a whole lot to the rest of it. The first movie had the scene where they're in the woods with all the animals, the second movie had the song sequence with the singing computer systems, and now this. So, if anything, points for consistency. Anywho, they get close enough to Mars, and Blanky ends up turning off the microwave because the timer was about to go off, causing them to crash land.
Popcorn must be done by now.
Don't turn off the microwave!
Do something!
Like what?
Slow us down!
Help!
Houston, we have a problem.
The group are then welcomed by a bunch of sentient satellites, including Viking 1, played by Dr. McCoy himself, DeForest Kelley.
The satellite?
No, Viking 1 the bagel. Of course the satellite.
Oh my god, DeForest Kelley, Carol Channing, Farrah Fawcett. Gotta say, they're roping in some pretty decent names for a movie like this. As well as Tinselina, played by Kat Susi, a Christmas angel who was placed in one of the satellites by a kid at NASA. But sadly, she's never seen the top of a Christmas tree as she spent most of her life up in space.
You should be glad for the company and the conversation.
But all you ever talk about is Christmas. Christmas this, Christmas that. And you've never even seen the top of a Christmas tree.
I know. It's awful to be built for an expressed purpose and then be confined to spending all eternity with a broken down satellite with no prospects.
Okay, up until this point, we've seen some pretty weird stuff. But, this point on, the rest of the movie just takes one giant plunge into a pool of absolute insanity. And if you have never seen this movie and don't know what I'm talking about, feast your eyes on this.
military toasters.
Oh, just you wait, it gets even better. So these military toasters, with freaking rocket launchers built into them, are part of a group called the Wonderlux appliances. A militant group of appliances that are bent on blowing up the Earth in an act of revenge on humanity for abandoning them. All led by a giant refrigerator dictator called the Supreme Commander. As Tinselina explains, that they launch themselves up into space as a way to rebel against the humans that intentionally built them to fall apart in just a matter of years. Okay, but wouldn't it make more sense if they just rebelled on Earth? You know, a planet where there's a thing that a lot of electronics and appliances would need, like electricity? Why not just pull a Skynet and cause some kind of uprising on Earth? Oh god, I shouldn't say that out loud. Knowing at the rate they keep pumping crap like this out, that's probably going to inspire someone to make a crappy Brave Little Toaster horror movie, isn't it?
What business do you have with him?
He's a little master.
Master? You have no master but yourselves. That's what our mission is all about.
But things look up as there's an election coming up soon, and the Toaster decides to run against the Supreme Commander, planning to run on a pro-human campaign, and hopefully get these appliances to drop their anti-human bias. And the two opposing forces decide to debate each other through song.
My platform has only one plank. Humans stink and they always stank.
Then my platform has one plank too. Without humans, there'd be no you.
But Hearing Aid steps in and it seems the fridge recognizes him from somewhere. But then we see Robbie is safe on Mars because he's in a bubble and the Wonderlux army have been holding him captive. Because yeah, babies can withstand lack of oxygen in the cold vacuum of space inside of a bubble, of course. And it seems whenever Robbie touches the fridge, it gets to him for some reason. But things start to look up for our heroes as Toaster managed to win the election. Yeah, have fun with the 2020 and 2024 election jokes in the comments. The giant fridge then opens up and our heroes go inside of him, and apparently he's so big he has an entire ocean inside of him, like he's some kind of TARDIS fridge. Only to come across a regular size fridge to reveal that he was being operated by the Hearing Aid's twin brother this whole time. Of course! That's how he recognized him earlier!
You see, when my master Albert Einstein went to the New World, he left in a hurry.
And he inadvertently left my twin behind. He was always such a bit absent-minded for such a smarty pants.
I was found by the notorious Dr. von Geigerfunken. Worked very closely with him, you might say. And I learned all about anti-gravity propulsion.
What turned you against humans?
I spent too much time with Dr. Geigerfunken. All that man listened to was talks of bombs and missiles and warheads. When you live with someone for a long time, it rubs off.
Okay, well, I guess that explains his motivation, but still doesn't explain how he met the Wonderlux appliances and ended up in space with them, let alone becoming their leader in the form of a giant refrigerator. Anyway, our heroes get their ship ready to return to Earth, joined by Tinselina and the other Hearing Aid. But uh-oh, the other Hearing Aid forgot to deactivate the bomb they were going to launch at the Earth. So Toaster and the other Hearing Aid are going to have to go down and deactivate it themselves. But it seems the ship doesn't have enough popcorn to go back for them. So what are they possibly going to do?
Wait a minute. Yes, we do. I'm organic. My hair is real human hair, and the feathers on my dress are real goose down. And my petticoat is genuine Austrian linen.
And you'd give all that up?
The spirit of Christmas is to give, isn't it?
How does that even... You know what? The movie's almost over. Best not to question it. Let's just wrap this up. Point is, the appliances make it home safely with Robbie. Rob and Crystal are none the wiser, and of course, they end up coming across the remains of Tinselina.
What is it?
It's a Christmas angel.
It was a Christmas angel.
Well, Rob, one thing I learned from you is never to throw anything away.
And thus the movie ends with Tinselina being fixed up and finally accomplishing her dream of being the angel on top of the Christmas tree. And so by that logic, hashtag Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars is a Christmas movie. So that was the Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars, and it's certainly a weird one. I mean, what can I really say to this? Sure, the first two movies had their fair share of weirdness, but they were nowhere as bonkers as this one was. I mean, you take a simple story about appliances looking for their previous owner to a movie about appliances traveling to another planet and coming across kitchen appliance Nazis that want to wipe out humans. How the hell did we get here? Freddy is FR07, Totally Spies movie, Raggedy Ann and Andy, I take it all back. This is probably the strangest animated movie I've seen in quite some time. And yes, I know, stuff like this happened in the original book, and it was just as weird there too. That being said, the voice acting and the animation is pretty good as far as straight-to-video movies are concerned, and I can't say I was ever bored watching this one. It certainly moves at a rapid pace. Far from a bad movie, but unless you grew up with it like I did, I think I'd only recommend this just to watch it and come to your own conclusion. I mean, what other movie out there can you say has Nazi toasters from Mars?
The red dust of Mars is clogging our cranium.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the same could be said about the writers of this film, Radio. Until next time, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough.
Mars, bitches. That's where we are going. Mars. Red rocks. Yay, yay.